alone in a blizzard, surrounded by lies. Every second closer to the edge of madness. They came seeking shelter, but found death. No one is innocent. No one survives untouched. No exit, the nightmare never ends. Let's dive into the most intense mystery thrillers. Buckle up, this story is darker than you can imagine. Let's dive straight into today's captivating story. Our movie begins at a recovery center, where a young woman named Darby is focused on overcoming her challenges. Then, one day, she receives a distressing call from the hospital. Her mother is seriously ill and urgently needs surgery. Understandably, Darby is desperate to get to the hospital to be there for her mother's operation. However, the staff at the recovery center are somewhat dismissive of her pleas. They perceive her urgency as potentially linked to her past struggles. Consequently, Darby finds herself unable to leave for the hospital, and her worry for her mother intensifies. Later that night, under the cover of darkness, she makes the difficult decision to leave the recovery center. She also takes a car from the premises and sets off towards Salt Lake City, where her mother is hospitalized. On her journey, a police officer stops her and informs her about an impending severe snowstorm, resulting in the closure of the road ahead. They advise her against continuing and suggest she spend the night at a nearby local visitors center. Darby eventually reaches the center, where she finds 4 other individuals already seeking shelter. Among them are 2 people named Ash and Lars. There's also a couple present, a husband who is a member of the military and his wife, who works as a nurse. As they settle in, Darby tries to call the hospital, but unfortunately, she has no phone signal inside. Therefore, she steps outside to try and get a connection. It's then that she notices a young girl inside a nearby van, and it's clear the girl has been taken against her will. Immediately, Darby suspects that this van belongs to one of the 4 people inside the visitor center. She quietly reassures the girl in the van, promising, "Don't worry, I'll be back for you." As she says this, she quickly takes a picture of the van's license plate with her phone and gets back into her car. A wave of fear washes over Darby in that moment. Just then, the soldier and another person from the group come outside, also trying to get a mobile phone signal. They too find that there's no reception. They then notice Darby sitting in her car and ask her where she's going. However, Darby chooses not to answer them and goes back inside the visitor's center. She doesn't reveal that she knows about the kidnapped girl in the van. Her intuition tells her that the van's owner is likely the perpetrator and is one of the 4 people inside. Shortly after, the soldier and the other person also come back inside and suggest playing a card game to pass the time. Everyone agrees, and as the game begins, Darby initiates conversations, subtly trying to identify the kidnapper among them. Through their interactions and by carefully asking questions, Darby starts to suspect that the young man named Lars might be the one responsible. She then excuses herself to the washroom and begins to type a message, intending to send all the information she has gathered to the police. Unfortunately, once again, the lack of signal prevents her from sending the message. This reinforces her understanding that she must bide her time, relying on her intellect and observation. She recognizes that she has no other immediate recourse. To overcome this perilous situation, she knows she must exert all her efforts. She then quietly slips out of the back door of the washroom. She carefully opens the van door and slips inside. Inside the van, she sees the trapped girl. But before she can help her escape, Lars suddenly appears. Startled, Darby quickly hides inside the van, hoping not to be seen. It turns out that Lars had lost the card game. Frustrated by his loss, he comes outside to check on the girl. He reassures her, saying that everything will be all right when they reach his uncle's house. He then tells the girl he's going to get some food for her. With that, he leaves the van and heads back towards the visitor center. As soon as he's gone, Darby tries again to free the girl. However, she is still unsuccessful. She then whispers to the girl, "Don't worry, I promise I will save you no matter what. I will get help for you." With those words, she retraces her steps back to the washroom. Moments later, Lars returns with food for the girl. As he approaches the van, he notices footprints in the snow near the door. The footprints lead directly towards the washroom. Just then, Ash arrives outside the washroom and calls out, "Are you in there?" Suddenly, Darby pulls him inside. Frantically, she tries to explain to Ash that his companion, Lars, has kidnapped a girl. At that very moment, Lars also arrives, following the trail of footprints. When Darby sees Lars, she instinctively grabs Ash and kisses him. Seeing this unexpected display between Darby and Ash, Lars turns and walks away. Once Lars is gone, Darby reiterates to Ash that his partner, Lars, is a kidnapper who has abducted a girl and is holding her in his van. Ash then asks her, "Have you informed the police about this?" Darby explains that she couldn't contact the authorities because there was no phone signal. Now, Ash discusses a plan with Darby to rescue the girl. He suggests, "Let's go and tell her it will be all right." But Darby interjects, mentioning that she saw a pistol near Lars. "Why don't we tell the soldier about all of this?" she proposes. "He's bound to have a weapon and could definitely help us." However, Ash counters, "What if the soldier doesn't have a gun? Then his life could also be in danger. So, here's what you should do, go and sit inside that van. As soon as Lars comes to harm you," Ash continues, "I'll come from behind and stop him. That way, we'll save the girl." Darby agrees to his plan. Following Ash's instructions, she goes and sits inside the van. Once inside, she removes the gag from the girl's mouth. The girl immediately asks, "Where are those two men?" Before Darby can respond, she glances outside the van and sees Ash and Lars talking to each other. In that instant, she realizes with chilling clarity that they are working together. Both are kidnappers. Just as they both start walking towards the van and open the door, they discover that Darby has escaped. Now, Ash follows Darby towards the washroom. He catches up to her, pulls out his gun, and threatens her. "If you tell anyone about the girl," he snarls, "I will kill everyone here." He then reveals, "Lars isn't just my companion, he's my own brother." Darby, shocked and confused, asks Ash, "Why did you both kidnap that girl?" Ash explains that the girl's father is the wealthiest man in the city. "We're going to demand a ransom and then let her go," he states. Darby urgently replies, "But the girl is very sick. She needs immediate medical attention." Upon hearing this, Ash reveals that the girl suffers from a chronic illness. He explains that if she experiences too much stress, her condition could worsen significantly. Just then, the soldier's wife, the nurse, enters the scene. The moment Ash sees her, he quickly conceals his gun and acts affectionately towards Darby, as if they are romantically involved. In this way, the three of them emerge from the washroom and join the others in the main hall. Lars and the soldier are already there. As everyone starts conversing, Darby glances out the window and sees that the kidnapped girl has managed to get out of the van and free herself. Ash also notices this and subtly signals his brother Lars to go outside. Obeying Ash's signal, Lars immediately leaves the visitor's center. Shortly after, Darby also gets up and heads towards the washroom, with Ash following closely behind. As soon as Ash enters the washroom, Darby unexpectedly attacks him from behind. Despite the surprise, Ash manages to gain control and begins to choke her. Just as Darby is losing consciousness, Lars suddenly appears from the back of the washroom. He intervenes and saves Darby from Ash's grip. He tells Ash that the girl has fled into the forest and won't return if they call for her. However, he suggests that if Darby calls her, she might come back. Therefore, Lars argues, they shouldn't harm Darby for now. Ash understands his reasoning, and the three of them head into the forest together. On their way, Lars and Ash mention someone they call Uncle. When Darby inquires about this uncle, they reveal that he raised them both and that they kidnapped the girl at his request. It is then that Darby realizes their uncle is involved in human trafficking. Overwhelmed by this revelation, Darby shines the flashlight she's holding directly into their faces and attempts to flee. As she runs, Ash fires a shot at her with his pistol. Fortunately, the bullet misses Darby, and she manages to escape their grasp. The sound of the gunshot reaches the ears of the soldier and his wife. They immediately come outside and find the girl, who has fainted due to her poor health. They quickly bring the girl inside. The nurse examines her and informs her husband that the girl is very ill and needs medication urgently. Just then, Darby arrives and tells the soldier everything, that Lars and Ash kidnapped the girl and are now planning to harm her as well. Moments later, Ash and Lars also arrive at the visitor center. The soldier quickly closes and locks the door, telling them to leave. But Ash insists that the girl desperately needs her medication because she is very sick, and without it, her life could be in danger. Now, Darby, feigning fear, says to them, "I have the keys to your van. So, you give us the girl's medicine, and you can have the keys," she continues, implying they are trapped without them. When both brothers hear this, they believe they no longer have the van keys. Following this, they both go to their van and begin spraying gasoline all around the visitor center, intending to set it on fire. Seeing this, the nurse becomes terrified and urges her husband to hand over the girl. "Otherwise," she cries, "they will burn us all alive." But the soldier, resolute, replies, "Nothing like that will happen. I've dealt with people like this many times before." He then gives the keys to their car to Darby. He instructs her to hide the car keys somewhere safe and not tell anyone their location. As soon as Darby hears this, she immediately conceals the keys. At the same moment, she hands a hammer to the soldier for protection and keeps one for herself as a weapon. Just then, Ash ignites a match and menacingly threatens to set the visitor's center ablaze. Following this, the soldier's wife again pleads with her husband to give the girl to them, fearing they will all be killed. Then, suddenly, the girl regains consciousness. When she sees the nurse, recognition dawns in her eyes, and a shocking truth is revealed. It turns out that this nurse was the girl's caregiver. The girl used to be very troublesome, causing the nurse a great deal of frustration. Driven by this resentment and the promise of money, the nurse had orchestrated the kidnapping with Ash and Lars. Their plan was to extract a large ransom from the girl's wealthy father. Now that the soldier knows his wife's complicity, she desperately tries to manipulate the situation. She tells Ash and Lars that her husband doesn't actually have a gun. However, the soldier had previously warned them that he was armed and would shoot if they entered. This threat had kept them at bay until now. The soldier now confronts his wife, the nurse, demanding an explanation for her actions. The nurse breaks down in tears, confessing that their savings were depleted and they desperately needed money. This desperation led her to support Ash and Lars and plan the girl's abduction. Just then, Ash and Lars enter the visitor's center. The nurse immediately gives the girl her medicine, which seems to have a positive effect. It becomes clear that the nurse had lied to her husband about needing to leave to care for the girl, using it as a cover for her involvement in the kidnapping. Tearfully, the nurse tells her husband that as soon as they receive the ransom money, they will release the girl unharmed. But the girl suddenly interrupts, stating firmly that this will not happen. She reveals that the man Ash and Lars work for is involved in human trafficking, transporting people to other countries and selling them. This means Ash and Lars aren't just planning a kidnapping, they intend to traffic her. The nurse vehemently denies this, turning to Ash and urging him to call the girl's father. She insists that he would pay even more than they are demanding because he loves his daughter deeply. She argues that selling the girl is wrong and was never part of their initial plan. However, Ash ignores her pleas and does not call the girl's father. His and Lars's true intention was always to sell the girl overseas. Now, Ash points his gun at the soldier, demanding the car keys. But the nurse, her voice trembling with fear, interjects, "My husband doesn't have the car keys. Darby has them." Hearing this, the soldier instructs Darby firmly, "Don't give them the keys." Ash's anger flares at this defiance. In a fit of rage, he shoots and kills the soldier. Witnessing this horrific act, the soldier's wife, consumed by fury, tries to spray pepper spray at Ash. But Lars steps in front of Ash, and the pepper spray hits him directly in the eyes. Blinded and in pain, Lars cries out, further infuriating Ash. Ash, now even more enraged, turns on the nurse and kills her as well. He then storms towards Darby and demands the car keys. But Darby resolutely refuses to hand them over. Enraged by this continued resistance, Ash drags Darby to a wall and cruelly affixes their hand to the wall with a nail gun. After this brutal act, Ash leads his blinded brother to the washroom to wash his eyes, as Lars is temporarily unable to see due to the pepper spray. Left in agony, Darby tries to free himself from the wall, but the pain makes it impossible. In desperation, Darby calls out to the girl, asking her to bring a hammer that is lying nearby. The brave girl retrieves the hammer and gives it to Darby. Just then, Ash and Lars return. Ash now has Darby's phone. He cruelly delivers devastating news to Darby. Their mother has passed away. Overwhelmed with grief, Darby is heartbroken, as their father was already gone, and now their mother has also left the world, without Darby even having a chance to say goodbye. Amidst this personal tragedy, Darby's mind races, determined to somehow save the young girl. Meanwhile, due to the network issues, the information about the kidnapping is relayed to the police with a significant delay. However, because the network is now working intermittently, the initial messages Darby sent to the police are finally delivered. This means the police could arrive at any moment. Growing increasingly frantic, Ash grabs the girl's hand and pins it to the ground. He holds the nail gun threateningly above her, shouting at Darby, "If you don't give me the keys, I will shoot this girl with a nail gun." Hearing Ash's cruel threat, Lars, despite his blindness, protests, refusing to allow such harm to come to the girl. But Ash ignores his brother's plea. Terrified for the girl's life, Darby finally reveals the location of the keys to Ash. Ash, gun still in hand, instructs his brother, "If anyone tries anything, shoot them." He then leaves the visitor's center to retrieve the keys. After Ash is gone, Darby encourages the girl to turn off the light. Darby knows that despite his threats, Lars is unlikely to shoot the girl. The girl bravely gets up from Darby's side and slowly moves towards the switchboard to turn off the light. Meanwhile, Lars threatens her, yelling, "Go and sit down or else I will shoot you." But the girl, undeterred by his words, runs and plunges the room into darkness. Taking advantage of the sudden darkness, Darby quickly removes the nail from the girl's hand and frees himself from the wall. As soon as Lars switches on the light, Darby launches a swift attack, knocking him to the ground. The sudden movement causes the gun to fly out of Lars's hand. Hearing the gunshot, Ash rushes back inside and sees Darby holding his brother Lars at gunpoint. Ash points the nail gun at Darby, demanding they release his brother. But Darby retorts, ordering Ash to drop the nail gun and threatening to kill Lars if he doesn't comply. The young girl, who has been hiding and observing everything, she grabs the hammer and strikes Ash with it. The impact causes the nail gun to fire, and a nail pierces Lars's forehead, inflicting a serious injury. Ash rushes to his brother's side, reassuring him, "Don't worry, nothing will happen to you. I'll take you to the hospital right now. Everything will be all right there." Darby, holding the girl's hand, makes their escape in the car. Just then, Lars's leg slips, and he falls, hitting his head hard. The nail is driven completely into his forehead, killing him instantly. Seeing his brother's death, Ash bursts out in a panic and fires his gun at Darby's car as they drive away with the girl. Ash's shots puncture a tire, causing Darby's car to crash into a pole. Undeterred, Ash advances towards the wrecked car, intent on killing them both. But Darby unexpectedly gets out of the vehicle and shoots Ash, wounding him. At that moment, the police arrive at the scene. Confused by the situation, they mistakenly identified Darby as the kidnapper. The police open fire, injuring Darby and causing them to fall to the ground. Slowly, Ash gets back on his feet, picks up his gun, and shoots and kills the police officer. He then turns his attention back to Darby, intending to finish them off. But he discovers that his gun is out of bullets. He reaches for his nail gun, but just as he's about to strike, Darby reveals a hidden dagger they had been carrying. With a swift movement, Darby attacks Ash's neck, killing him. Afterward, Darby crawls over to the police officer's radio and calls for help. The scene then shifts to a few days later. Darby is still receiving treatment at the rehab center. On the wall of their room, they have hung several drawings given to them by the girl whose life they saved. One day, Darby's sister comes to visit. The reunion is deeply emotional for Darby. However, Darby now feels a newfound strength. Having bravely faced such a terrifying ordeal, they believe overcoming their addiction will be a much smaller challenge. They have already fought and won a much greater battle. And that brings our story to a close. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming movie narrations. I'll be back soon with another fantastic movie. Until then, take care, and thank you so much for watching.